Welcome back. Now in this video, we'd like to show that weapon outline while we're interping. As it's currently implemented, when we hit the E key, the weapon flies up, but we don't see the outline anymore. And that's because as soon as we stop tracing, then we stop showing the outline. So we're going to fix that in this video. Now, before we do, you may have run into an issue when picking up some of your weapons, and that's because you may not have set the enum item type on the weapon. So if we select a weapon and we search in the details panel for item type, it should be set to weapon if we want our interping to work properly. Now go to base weapon and search for item type here, and we'll see that it's set to default max, but because we're on base weapon BP, we can go ahead and set this to weapon, and now all of our weapons should have our item type set properly. So we'll go ahead and set that. Now for fixing the item outline. Let's go ahead and go into item.h, and we're going to add a Boolean that will prevent us or allow us to set the custom depth. And we're going to call this Boolean b can change custom depth. So we're going to basically use this to prevent us from changing the custom depth when we start interping. Now, by default, this needs to have a value of true. So we're going to go to the item constructor and give this a default value of true. So when are we going to set it to false, and when are we going to set it to true? Well, we're going to go ahead and go into our enable custom depth function. And here in enable custom depth, we're setting the rendered custom depth to true to enable it. But we only want to do this if we can change custom depth. So we're going to use if b can change custom depth in order to prevent us from changing this when the Boolean is false. When it's true, then this function will successfully set the render custom depth to true. We're going to do the same thing for disable custom depth. So we're going to say if b can change custom depth, and we're going to set the item mesh render custom depth to false only if this Boolean allows us to do so. So when do we set this to true and when do we set it to false? Well, we saw that as soon as the item started interping, then we disabled the render custom depth. So we want to prevent that from happening by setting this Boolean to false. And we start interping with the start item curve function. So let's look for start item curve. And down at the bottom of this function, we can simply set the Boolean to false. So we can say b can change custom depth equals false. And now we won't be able to disable the custom depth as soon as the line trace stops hitting the gun. But we do want to set this back to true at some point. And a good place to do that would be as soon as the item is done interping. And the function that gets called at that point is finish interping. So down at the bottom of finish interping, we can simply set b can change custom depth back to true. We need to move this line to just above disable custom depth. That way it's set back to true, and then we can disable it. So we need this to be set to true before we can call disable custom depth. So let's go ahead and compile this now. And in the editor here, we'll go ahead and hit play, and we'll go ahead and pick up an item. And we picked up one with a green outline. Now if we go ahead and pick up another gun and throw down the gun we're holding, now we have to actually back up and come back into the sphere to see that widget and the outline again. But if we want to enable the glow material, we need to do that when we throw the weapon down. But we can do that in the throw weapon function. So in weapon.cpp, we can go to throw weapon. And here at the very bottom of the throw weapon function, we can enable the glow material. Okay, so let's compile this. Okay, so we're back in the editor. We're going to go ahead and pick up a weapon. And when we throw it down, we see we get our enable glow material function called, because the glow material is active again. Okay, perfect. That is going to conclude this video. So we now know how to show that outline while we're interping because we created a Boolean that will prevent the custom depth from being changed. In the next video, we're going to learn how to set the other properties of our glow material based on curve values. So we'll see you in the next video.